This is Limited Supply, the place for refreshingly real takes on what D2C is really like.
We're your hosts, Nick and Moiz. Let's start talking about money.
All right, Moiz, you know, every time we work out together, I take some pre-workout before sometimes, and I always get it from this brand, Caged. Now, why do I use Caged? Because they are on Tapcart. So I have their app on my phone. Every time it runs out, I just go to the app and reorder it. They do over 21% of their revenue just through their Tapcart app. Their AOV is 19.5% higher than their .com, and their conversion rates for mobile web, like just going on Safari, is 4.5 times higher than the mobile web, and then compared to desktop, it's almost 2.5 times higher. It's 2.4x.
That is absolutely insane. More than a fifth of their revenue is coming from the Tapcart app that they have.
Yeah,
That's
and the craziest
bonkers.
is the difference of the conversion rate within the app and mobile web. Who would have thought?
Now I understand why you have such good workouts. You're on all this pre.
If you want to have a success like Cage with Tapcart, go to tapcart.com/limited.
Let's get into it. I guess this is episode 4, Limited Supply Season 4. Okay, bunch of stuff on the agenda. It's been probably 10 days since we recorded last. There was, for a hot second, there was something that was going on on LinkedIn where it was some olive oil drama.
Olivegate.
Olivegate. Will you summarize for people who may not be aware of it what happened? Like it's so hard to keep track of these things. I got to check WhatsApp, Twitter, LinkedIn now for people posting stuff. I'm like, where is the drama? Is it on Netflix or is it on LinkedIn now? And apparently it's on LinkedIn. So tell everyone what it was.
So basically what happened was Brightland came out with a new olive oil they call pizza oil. And I believe it came out yesterday, or it might have been the day before. We're recording this on April 27th. So whenever it came out and basically, Brightland's known for their beautiful designed bottles, ceramic looking bottles, very high end, is really because olive oil shouldn't be in plastic. Graza, on the other hand, their entire brand is in these plastic squeeze bottles, which is what chefs all around the world use, squeeze bottles. So does the halal cart downstairs on the corner. They use squeeze bottles. So Brightland launched a new pizza oil in a squeeze bottle. The whole aesthetic is like it fits in a pizza shop and it's to be put on pizza. And on LinkedIn, the CEO of Graza basically calls out Brightland and says, hey, this is too far. We've had some friendly banter in the past. I'm all up for friendly competition, but you've gone way too far. You put your olive oil in a squeeze bottle, okay? This is crossing the line here. And everybody in the comments just flamed this guy. It went from, how a good meme on Instagram, a good meme on Twitter ends up on Instagram, and a good TikTok ends up on different platforms. Just like that, this LinkedIn post was screenshotted and memed across Twitter, and even the tweets were hilarious. My reply was like, oh shit, what does this mean for I got to go call Olipop. We've been stealing the packaging from Coke. Oh, fuck, what does this mean for Coke? We stole it from somebody else. And so anyways, he got absolutely ripped apart, rightfully so. And then he apologized. So he edited his post and apologized. And apparently, word on the streets I've been driving on is, although this is now, a few weeks after this has happened by the time this is aired. But at the time, there's some reporters sneaking around trying to get some more juicy details that apparently have been slipped to reporters, all lies. But, hopefully none of those pieces have come out or didn't come out in the past. But it was drama of the day. The last week, there's been something spicy every single day on D2C Twitter.
Wait, what was the drama that's going around? So I'm sorry, I certainly saw the squeeze bottle, and we can get to that. But what was this drama that you were talking about? There was something going on with reporters going out?
Yeah. So the other drama is basically he claimed this isn't the first time Brightland's done something to us, and he didn't really go into detail about what that was. But a reporter hit me up and said, "Hey, there's been we were told, obviously by only one person, we were told that Brightland participated in a Instagram giveaway and didn't hold up their end of the bargain. They didn't post on Instagram. And in reality, what happened is, first of all, Brightland is not that type of a brand that says, hey, let's go post on Instagram for a giveaway because we need followers and comments. It's just not Brightland. You know, Rolls-Royce would never do that. Brightland doesn't do that. So he was claiming that like this is the first time they got gypped by Brightland, or that was the first time they got gypped by Brightland. And in reality, like, you know, Brightland's social calendar, content calendar fills up like 3 months in advance. So I can't imagine that Aishwarya was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'd be so pumped to do an Instagram giveaway and post it on our stories, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I guess a lot of things to that. One, are you an investor in Brightland out of curiosity? You seem to know a ton about it, and I don't know anything about it. Like I once had bottles of olive oil. Okay, gotcha.
No, I'm definitely an investor.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. I can't believe a reporter is reaching out to you being like, I heard a story that Brightland has not posted something on Instagram. Dear reporter, that is not a story. Like that is not.
Find something better to write about.
Yeah.
That's like the cop. I saw this cop the other day in New York writing a ticket to like an Uber Eats delivery driver. And I'm like, do you seriously not, like I literally said this to them. Do you not have anybody else to go after than somebody who's just trying to get on with their day?
Yeah. You should call up the reporter and be like, I have breaking news. I brushed my teeth this morning.
I changed my toothpaste flavor.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's hilarious. Yeah, I guess I've got a lot of thoughts about this. One is that a squeeze bottle is the least amount of copying a company has ever done to another company. Like, and not only that, the squeeze bottle that Brightland uses and that Graza uses, they don't seem like their colors are unique, but I'm pretty sure they're stock
not
bottles
even close.
That you can buy. Like, you know, Chinese guys are just selling these bottles and these squeeze tops in, you know, in the quantity of billions. And so I'm not sure how, like, yes, color is unique to each of them and they're completely different. One's white and one's dark green. But I don't know where this came from when it's like, oh, you're now putting this product in a squeeze bottle. Oh my God. You know, I'm not sure where that came from.
I'm going to go sue the halal card downstairs.
And like, you know, I would say the other thing is that you should get incredibly used to competition when you're successful. Like one of the hardest things about building in public is that the more successful you are, the more everybody knows it. And the more that like everybody wants to copy that. When I was running native, we had people clone the exact same sense that we had. Like there was a shitty version of native with the exact same sense that we had. And then one of the guys who tried to buy our business, like I did this presentation in front of a company that, you know, bid north of $50 million, I think, for the business. A month later was cloned all of our, cloned the deodorants and cloned all of the scents. Like they sold a coconut and vanilla and a eucalyptus and mint and a cucumber and mint. Like, you know, a month after we tried to sell the business to them and they made an offer. And you know, look, that's the nature of business. So if you're going to get your panties all bunched up for a squeeze bottle, dude, you're going to get you're going to have a lot more problems. I like that he apologized. He did it really quickly. And I thought it was less of a big deal than everybody else did. Like I saw all these posts on LinkedIn. First, when I saw it, I was like, this guy's overreacted. Then I saw a ton of responses where people were like, you overreacted and he apologized. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It seemed to have gone mini viral within the direct-to-consumer community. So I did want to bring it up here. But to me, I'm like, you know, a week from now, we'll all have forgotten about it.
No one's going to care.
Okay. Let's move on to a couple other things. One is Walmart sold Bonobos. Did you see this?
I saw huge loss.
Yeah, they purchased Bonobos for $310 million back in the day when they thought that they were doing like, I don't know, an e-commerce roll-ups. I think Walmart may have been the original Thrasio now that I think about it. They bought Jet. They bought
everything
Bonobos.
They've bought, they've gotten rid of or shut it down.
Yeah, ModCloth, Shoes.com, Bare Necessities. Anyway, they bought Bonobos for $310 million and they sold it for $75 million. The deal structure was a little bit complicated. The guys who are buying it They're acquiring it for $50 million, WHP, and Express is going to get Bonobos' operating assets and liabilities for $25 million. So WHP is buying the brand for $50 million and the IP, and Express is buying the operating assets and liabilities for $25 million. This is what the Express CEO said about the business, because at this point, nobody knows how big it is. It says, Bonobos is delivering double-digit sales growth, and we plan to continue that momentum while also realizing operating synergies and the other economies of scale. How large it is, I have no idea. But it's really interesting. I feel like this is a good time to talk about, like, Bonobos. Do you know Andy Dunn personally, out of curiosity?
No, we're just Twitter friends.
Gotcha. So Andy Dunn was the founder of Bonobos. He was like back in the day, I think in like 2014, pre-Dollar Shave Club or something, or like 2013, he coined the phrase DNVB, digitally native vertical brands. And he's like, look, nobody can compete with Amazon any longer. And this was back in the day where people were like, can I be a retailer of other people's goods? And he's like, look, that ship has sailed and the battle has been lost. The die has been cast. The blood has been spilled. You will not be able to compete with Amazon selling a third-party good. You cannot sell a pen that Amazon also sells. Their logistics will beat you. Their prices will beat you. And, today you absolutely have no chance. So he suggested that he didn't suggest, but he was like, look, there is a digitally native vertical brand, which everyone should go out and create their own brand that is not available on Amazon. That's how you compete in this space. And he wrote that article how many years ago, and like it's come like that life cycle is so long now. He started a brand, had some troubles, sold to Walmart, and now it's being sold to a second guy. He was really the pioneer of like direct to consumer, I think.
I wonder if Bonobos has potential to end up like a Juicy Couture, Kate Spade, Quicksilver, one of these brands that just keeps getting traded for the next 100 years. Or if this is like, if this acquisition now is its last shot to be, to get back on its high horse and pedestal.
I feel like the brands like Juicy Couture, at one day, like they reigned supreme, right? Like every woman wanted to wear Juicy in the same way that I wanted to wear a starter jacket growing up, or like there were all these great brands that like sort of had their heyday and then fell off the face of the earth, and then like that heyday can be reinvigorated. When I was growing up, I'd buy Reeboks that Frank Thomas, his nickname was the Big Hurt. He was like a baseball player on the Chicago White Sox. He had Reebok shoes, and I really wanted them. That brand is now dead, but someone can revive that brand. Someone can revive Juicy. I'm not sure Bonobos ever had that like ubiquity and exactly, to be able to be revived. I think it's more of this brand can throw off some cash, but it's not a Quicksilver or starter jacket or one of the or a Juicy. I'm not sure. That's just my gut take about it.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm actually very curious to see. I also like, one thing that could be fun is if we were to take a list. You know how like there's always the thought of 10 years ago we said we're gonna have flying cars by now. If we took that list of flying cars from 10 years ago in direct to consumer and actually compared it to the reality today, that'd be a fun exercise to go through and see how many things actually were true or how many things were, good enough to get press and engagement on social, things like that, kind of make a statement.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Did you see, or was there anything else you wanted to add here?
I want to talk a little bit about Walmart online sales, but tell me what you want to say first.
No. I'm after this. Let's talk about Walmart.
Okay. Walmart says their online sales are $53.4 billion, or 13% of their total sales. That's a jump from, they're doing $53 billion last year. That's a jump from $15 billion in 2019. Or 5% of Walmart's annual sales, which is a massive jump. You're
Huge.
Talking about more than 3x. One of the things that I noticed when we were running, when we started launching into brick and mortar stores, was that a lot of these brick and mortar stores try and inflate their online presence and online sales and online efficiency. So one of the things that they'd like to do is be like, we'll give you this end cap. And but in order to get this end cap, which is going to give you a lot of sales, you have to spend $1 million in advertising or $100,000 in advertising on our website. And I'm not going to pick on any retailer, so let's just give an example of Walmart.com.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, okay, you need to buy the homepage of Walmart.com. That's going to cost you $50,000, and we'll give you this end cap. And you're like, well, the end cap is worth a fortune, so yeah, I'm ready to pay $50,000 for Walmart.com homepage buyout. Although I expect 0 sales from it, and I will get 0 sales from it. And then, at the end of the quarter, they're like, look, investors, here it is.
Yeah.
Look at our online ad revenue. It's so good. And you're like, as an investor, I would look at that and be like, wow, your online ad revenue is really good. And then I'm like, once I'm on the other side of things, I'm like, I see how it is. You just artificially juice this by giving me the end cap, requiring me to spend $50,000 in something you and I both know has 0 value.
Is the 53.4 that includes ad revenue as well?
I'm not entirely sure, actually, but I do know that that's what they do, because I remember having that experience at Native where retailers would be like, okay, if you do this, let's give another example of CVS.com, which
right.
I don't remember this happening, so this is just a hypothetical. When was the last time you went to CVS.com? Never.
Yeah, never.
I've never been to CVS. I don't even know if CVS owns CVS.com. Yeah. Like, buy a banner page on CVS.com and we'll do all these things for you. And you're like, okay, you just tell me how much money you want me to put in the briefcase and what the address is to send it to you in order to get this. You don't need to give me you don't need to pretend. We can just dispense with the pretense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it a bribe or whatever you want to call it, but let's get it done. Here's the money. Give me the end caps.
Do you use the Walmart Plus membership or like how many memberships do you think you're signed up to? So like, for example,
good question.
Amazon Prime, I got.
Yeah. Yes.
Uber, I have whatever the Uber one is.
Yes.
Let's see what
Shop Runner. Do you have Shop Runner?
I get it through MX, but yeah, technically, yeah.
And what about like Thrive Market?
Thrive Market, I don't do. Italic, I do.
Okay, I don't.
And then what about?
What are you doing? What are you buying from Italic all the time?
Man, Italic has the world's greatest boxers. They have amazing towels, amazing sheets, and the best hand soap.
Okay, and you buy enough of that to have a membership? Like, I can't remember.
Well, we also we'll use my membership for our office too.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh,
sorry, Jeremy.
Cancel this account. Yeah. Cancel it. Violating the terms. That's funny.
But yeah, you know how there's always like this bundling and unbundling cycle. I feel like we're about to go into a massive bundling cycle, because even walking to the office, I see on the post on the screen, it's like, if you're a part of Amazon Prime, you get DoorDash Plus for a year for free. And it's just like getting people into, there's probably hundreds of subscriptions that people have that they have no idea about. And then you get another subscription from Rocket Internet to cancel all the other subscriptions.
Yeah, that is fun. That is my favorite like tweet ever, which is I don't know what it is. I signed up for the thing that helps me cancel I had 6, now I have 7. That is my favorite.
All right, I got some news, some hot news off the press.
Hit me.
So earlier you mentioned Facebook stock was up. Did you read any of the news that came out about Facebook?
I know that their revenue was up for the first time in like 4 quarters. I talked to a Facebook ad rep earlier today, and they're like, this was the first quarter where like morale is like, we're not on our back heels and we're sort of fighting again. There's still rounds of layoffs to happen in the next month. So I know they beat revenue. I know they beat EBITDA. I know they're like at, 4 billion monthly active users, I think, or maybe 3 billion monthly active users, like insane numbers, and like continuing to grow that. But like, that's all I know.
Okay. So there's 2 things we could talk about. Do you want to start with number 1 or number 2?
Number 2.
All right. Number 2. So today, Facebook announced that beginning next year, April 24th. So April 24th, 2024. Facebook will not allow you to use Facebook Shops and allow checkout through the site. You have to use their checkout to complete a transaction if somebody goes through Facebook Shop. In addition, which that's not that bad because I did confirm with Facebook today that you will still be able to run website traffic and website ads. The goal with this push is twofold. One, it's to get shops transacting through Facebook, which I'm sure means, payment revenue for them. We've talked about the split of the 2.9%. I'm sure they get some of that. The second one is, which is really how they're going to get people there, is everybody who has products tagged on Instagram. Those tags will completely disappear if you are not set up in Commerce Manager. And I think, I think a couple things. One, I think it's actually, if I was looking through the eyes of Zuck, this is basically a way to consolidate as many learnings, as many data points, as many signals as possible to make the ad engine more efficient. On the other hand, somebody could say it's kind of fucked up that they're forcing this, but I really don't see any downsides to joining this side. Like, I don't see any downside to changing your Facebook Shops checkout to be exclusively through Facebook, or any downside to having that. The real, because you can still run traffic to site. Plus, you will get, better custom audiences and lookalike audiences from people who interacted with the shop, which again is all in their own walled garden. The only downside I see is if they were to say, if performance on website traffic versus performance on shops was dramatically lower on average, then the people who would suffer the most are the people who have products with high barrier to entry. So 8 Sleep or Hexclad or Caraway, things that are expensive and require a lot of consideration, learning, education, social proof, trust. Those pieces are probably not as easy to build in shops, unless, I could be wrong, unless by this time next year, you can basically build an entire website with a drag and drop builder using Facebook Shops, which also could be completely possible.
Well, let me ask you a couple other questions. Let me ask 2 questions then. I did see that news. What about like reviews? Facebook. Of course Facebook still has to let you check out on your site. But what about like reviews? So can you import your reviews from your review platform into Facebook, or like do you have 10,000 reviews on your website and 2 on Facebook?
My guess is they're going to have some sort of an API. So they have a couple APIs that you can use, with the ads platform and business manager. I think they're going to allow for somebody like Okendo to to sync your reviews in. If I was Unilever and they were like, oh yeah, actually these have to all be Facebook page reviews, because that's another thing. I'd be pretty pissed. So I don't think they're going to do that, but I think they're going to, they should allow, there should be an API where you can basically sync reviews in. I do think though, there is going to be some level of moderation or filtering in these reviews. For example, if somebody writes a review on your site, or you have a review on your site and it's in there, but it doesn't match back to a Facebook profile maybe, or it's not verified by Facebook as a real purchase, I think, for example, those might get filtered out.
Well, okay. Fair enough.
Also, why are you giggling? You got something in your head?
I'm giggling because I was like, I wonder how many people are going to have 2 reviews on their website and 10,000 on Facebook. And then I guess my other question is, what about like post-purchase upsell? Like you can't do that on Facebook.
Well,
add to cart upsell.
Exactly. Like the add to cart. So another one that I saw somebody bring up was custom products. If you're building a custom pair of socks and you have to upload your dog's picture, how is that going to happen?
Yeah. I don't think it can. I'd be a little surprised if Facebook made you do this. Like, they've in the past they've said this is required, and then they're like,
and then taking it back.
Yeah, like you remember there used to be this thing called like campaign budget optimization, and for a long time they were like on April 10th everyone must go to campaign. There will be no
or like the watch pages was another one.
Yeah, and then they're like, actually, this is a bad idea. We changed our minds. I remember my ad account reps when I was a native being like, you have to go to campaign budget optimization. Don't you understand? It's going to be mandatory. We're going to force you into it. And I was like, well, I just hate it.
Yeah.
And, like a week before you were required to, like they'd been telling me for 3 months, a week before I was required to, they're like, okay, never mind, we're okay
Yeah.
with it. Like you do
You're
whatever you
like,
like.
you're like, hey,
don't fuck with it.
what happened to that thing? And they're like, wait, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's this is something that I feel like works really well in theory. Like the thought of, oh, we can run ads to our own walled garden, we can collect the payments revenue, and customers are happy because they get something that's in the app experience, and advertisers are happy because we have more signals and more data. But in reality, this is something I don't think it's going to work out as easily as intended.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think the correct answer to this is actually Facebook, and this is a wild answer, buying Shopify. Because the reality is they have to rebuild shop. What happens if you sell a subscription item? Is Facebook going to manage your subscription? Like if what happens if I only sell a subscription item? I can't do it through Facebook Shop probably then. You have to rebuild an entire e-commerce engine inside Facebook in order for this to operate. And I don't think that's realistic. I'm not sure if Facebook buying Shopify is realistic either. Shopify stock is still very expensive. It would be, by far Facebook's largest acquisition. They're not exactly EBITDA accretive, but I do think that's not as crazy an idea as other people think.
Yep. Have you ever heard of the? Actually, I think you have. You might have told me about this. The Big Mac Index.
No, I did not tell you about that. What is
so the Big Mac Index, basically, it's like the best way to track currency. Just because you can see the value of a Big Mac in every currency, and that's your baseline as far as what's overpriced, what's underpriced. There needs to be a Big Mac Index for stocks like this. See if Shopify is overpriced, underpriced.
Yeah. I think that's like looking at their EBITDA, but I'm not sure what the answer is. I think you're right. I just don't know what the answer is here. Anyway, what was the other thing on Facebook? You said there were two things. I started with number two. What was number one?
So the other one, it's a bit more timely to this past weekend. So it's probably like 3 weeks ago if you're listening to this now, but it was Facebook on Sunday. All of the ads, your daily ad budget getting fully spent by like 8 a.m. Eastern time. And then, everybody was kind of in a state of panic. My advice to everybody was shut everything off just in case. And then I turned some stuff on in the evening, which started doing really well. In fact, we did so well that evening, like from like 6 p.m. to probably 3 a.m. was like this golden hour. I wish I'd tripled the budgets. But it got me thinking that, how many people are just, and we've been talking about this has been a topic of conversation for years, but like how many people are solely reliant on Facebook and not on any other platform, not using any other platform. And I think it's a lot of people from this experience. I've realized almost everybody that I know is solely reliant on Facebook.
Yeah, it's crazy. Everyone's like, oh, you got to diversify. Facebook is dying. It's still the bread and butter and backbone of e-commerce. And like, if something happened with TikTok ads, I would not know about it as fast as I knew about the Facebook ads thing.
Like my mom would text me and be like, "Did you hear about TikTok ads?"
Yeah. When Facebook ads, when there's an issue with Facebook ads, literally everybody's on top of it right away. Like that happened. I think it was like Saturday or Sunday morning. They have not given any, a big question that's happening right now is Facebook going to give refunds? And the answer is probably. They seem to do the right thing on most occasions. And this was like obviously a big fuck up on their part. And they know that it was entirely on them. They're usually slow to give refunds, although I anticipate in this case they'll be a little bit faster because there were so many dollars and so many advertisers. But I would people were like, where's my refund? Where's my refund? And I was like, I remember on our on the limited supply Slack group, someone was like, should we start a class action lawsuit? I was like, how would you feel if a customer was like, I want to return this product and your CS team hadn't responded in 24 hours and they were like, I'm going to file a class action lawsuit against you? Like, would you chill out for 10 seconds? It's Sunday. You don't want to give them till Monday to tell you what's going to happen, or Tuesday or Wednesday. You want to on Sunday, you're like, I'm going to file a class action lawsuit. Imagine if one of your customers bought something, didn't like it, and was like, where's my refund? I want to return this. You didn't respond for 10 minutes. I'm filing a class action lawsuit. Like, you'd be like, this customer is a fucking asshole.
Yeah, 100%.
We just need to chill out. I think they'll do the right thing. In the past, I feel like they've done the right thing. It does take time, and this is going to be a big check that they're going to have to write.
Yeah, it led me down a path of some other channels that have been worth playing with, and I have three that probably sound obvious, but I think they actually work really well for a brand that's doing at least 5 million a year. So the first one is YouTube. Like YouTube performance ads have been doing really well lately. They work really well for products that have a high barrier to entry or high education barrier, things like supplements, furniture, cookware, etc. Second one is TikTok, which works really well with products that have a relatively understandable use case, protein powder, pimple patches, or it's used in the middle of funnel for larger brands. So companies that are, multi-hundred million, they find TikTok pretty useful in the mid funnel. In fact, a friend of mine just ran an incrementality test with Facebook and TikTok in the mid funnel, and the numbers for TikTok were just 50 cent or no, 50 cents lower, 40 cents lower than the incremental lift driven from Facebook. So it's actually a fairly good backup channel in the mid funnel area for larger brands. The third one is TV, which has just been, I feel like every brand that's direct to consumer that understands the messaging that works and then runs something, contextually native on TV starts to do really well. I don't think I've seen a brand that's launched on TV that's done good creative, based on messaging or creative insights that they know from Facebook and not done well on TV.
I would say a couple things. One is I'm surprised Pinterest isn't on your list. Like, dude, Pinterest is.
I don't think. I feel like I've run some Pinterest, but there. Okay, here's my beef with Pinterest. One, there's never somebody to talk to. Like the people that they try to set you up with, they don't even get a Pinterest.com email. It's like ads.pinterest.com, and they're subcontracted from some shitty company with just ad reps. It's like an ad rep farm. Yeah. And they never give any really good advice. I feel like their pixel tech is underdeveloped. I also haven't run it for probably 2 years, but that was my last experience. Was like there was no path of CPC going below $5.50, and there was nobody there to help.
Interesting. I would say a couple things. One is Pinterest does not work.
You're like, actually, you just fucking suck at running ads.
No, not at all. I think like Pinterest works only if you're selling to women. If you're selling to men, you have no opportunity to sell into Pinterest. And two, I think that they have a far lower average click-through rate than Facebook. Like I think Facebook's click-through rate on ads is like something like 2.5% or something. I haven't heard about the rate for about a year, but somewhere around there on an average ad for Facebook. On Pinterest, it's something like, it's certainly below 1%. Like it's less than half of Facebook's. So your CPM will be way cheaper because nobody clicks any ads on Pinterest. Mm-hmm. And I think the other part is, if you spend $20, you will saturate your audience in 5 minutes. So you can there's only 3 people on Pinterest is the real problem. But I think other than that, despite all of those things, it's a fantastic platform.
Yeah. Actually, I've seen Pinterest work really well organically. Like brands who can get Pinterest to work well, and Pinterest and TikTok, I'd put those two together. If you can get these two to work well organically, it's either like you can't get it to work, or it's on the other side, like you really get it to work.
What I love about TikTok ads is it's so clear to me when brands are doing well, because I just see their TikTok ad, like True Classic Teas. I heard of it because I saw their ads on TikTok for 3 months or 4 months in a row, and I was like, what is this brand that like every time I open up TikTok they're fucking advertising to me? Yeah. And that's how I knew they were doing well. Now I'm seeing this brand that sells like an air conditioner. They have like Jeff Foxworthy and Deion Sanders as like their spokesman, and every time I open it up, it's Jeff Foxworthy being like, here's why you need this air conditioner. And I'm like, what is this brand that's doing really well?
What happened to your career?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That too.
So there was another channel I was looking at too, which was basically just owned retail. Did you ever look into owned retail for native? Like your own retail stores?
Yeah. So like for 1 millisecond, I thought about it. And then I was like, this is the craziest idea.
What turned you off? Was it like the lease terms?
It was a waste of everyone's time. It was like,
Yeah.
let me tell you why it was a waste of everyone's time. Like, I think like the Allbirds stores on average do less than $1 million in revenue a year.
Yeah, those are a
You
joke.
know what? And you know how many stores you've got to have? So you have 30 stores doing less than, you got to manage all the inventory at these 30 stores. Some guy breaks a door, you got to fix it. I own gas stations. I know some guy broke a window of one of our gas stations late at night. And I remember having to drive a minivan out there and sleep in the minivan that night until the next morning when the glass guy could come and replace the door. Otherwise, some guy was going to walk in and steal everything that we had in that store, And
Right.
so I basically had to be a sentry outside sleeping in a van. I didn't want to do that again. And I was like, own stores? What are we going to do? $1 million a year? Increase some more Facebook ads and let's shut the fuck up and go back to work.
Yeah. All right, Moiz. You know Kevin, who started Glamnetic? So
Yeah.
I texted him today because I'm like, we talk about Tapcart all the time. So I texted him. I was like, yo, do you guys use Tapcart for Glamnetic? Does it work well? And he said they've had Tapcart for the last few years. It works great for the most loyal customer base. It helps with a ton of product drops, and they leverage the push notifications a bunch. Overall, the LTV from someone who downloaded Tapcart is much higher than non-app customers. So then I said, what is it like for app setup, upkeep, maintenance? Is it easy to do? And he said, overall, super easy. Didn't take long to set up. For strategy, we layer it into our overall marketing strategy to make sure we're maximizing value. And the upkeep maintenance doesn't really take much time either.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think everyone who's thinking about Tapcart is always like, what do I have to do to get my own mobile app? Like, do I need to design it? Do I need to get some guy to wireframe this app and then pass it along to Tapcart along with colors and fonts and all that kind of stuff? And it's way easier than that. You pass, Tapcart is able to lock into your Shopify store and download most of the design that they need. So the lift is way lighter than you think.
Totally. And right now, if you go to tapcart.com/limited, you can sign up and they will model out your incremental revenue lift you will get from the app. So go visit tapcart.com/limited. So there's this company I was looking into. Have you heard of Leap Retail?
Yes.
So I heard this from somebody else. So apparently the biggest value prop is basically you can test, instead of signing a 7 or 10 or 5-year lease for a retail store, Leap will sign the lease. You pay them an operating fee plus a percentage of revenue. So the operating fee is actually a fixed daily flat fee, which I'm not sure how much it is, but it covers employees because all the employees who work in the store are Leap employees. It covers the day in and day out ops, the security, the door breaking, all that kind of stuff, plus a percentage of revenue. And you can basically, the advantage is kind of like, it's almost like an agency for retail. So you can test with them just like you test podcasts with an agency who knows what they're doing. They've done it before. You can kind of learn the ropes from them. It's very similar where you can test it for a year or two. Worst case scenario, you lose 200K, instead of, 700 or 800K. But this same company, they started with Leap, and I think they did 2 stores with Leap or 1 store with Leap. And now they know that they can run their own stores, hit a 30% EBITDA on each store. And they're only, they can underwrite their own stores. They know how to build them out. And I just thought it was interesting. I've never really looked into Leap before.
Yeah, I sit on the board of this company called Brewmate that used Leap to open up a store very recently, I believe, in King of Prussia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, it is, I'm not sure if they're somehow related to the Simon Group, like the guys who own malls. I do feel like they have stores in malls generally and not like an Allbirds store on Fifth Avenue. They're like, hey, we've got this empty space in malls, come and rent it. Or we'll take care of this. I'm not entirely sure all of the, I think they even hire the employees, right? Like they hire you train them and they've got employees that will then become salesmen for your product. It is an interesting concept. I like the idea.
It's almost like WeWork.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we work if you were to neighborhood goods and stuff where they're here, rent a shelf at our store, basically. Yeah. But I do think that this only makes sense for brands that have tapped virtually every other channel and are much this is direct to consumer. Either is it worked really well or is not working at all, but we've got to figure something else out. There's so much stuff you can play with before you need to get to this level.
Totally. Have you ever done any of the naked retail or neighborhood goods or any of these stores that are trying to be these D2C, department stores.
Got such a good answer to this. So I've certainly been in them, and they're a ton of fun to go into, because when I go in there, I'm just like, this is my universe. Like, I understand what's going on. I understand the margins. Oh, look at this guy. He's over here. Like, I think they had Curie recently, and I was like, oh, Curie. There's one like near Budokan, I think it is, in like
Chelsea Market.
Yeah, exactly, in Chelsea Market. The neighborhood goods guys were like, hey, we want you, like, they're like, we want native. And I was like, great, I want to put my product in your store as well. And they sent me this contract that was incredibly onerous. And I was like, are you guys fucking crazy?
Yeah.
I did read this contract, and fuck you, I'm not signing it. This term is bullshit. And
it's like a crazy fee, right?
It wasn't the amount. It wasn't the amount. It was like some term. I forgot what the term was, to be honest. But I remember I was like, not only will I, it wasn't about money. It was actually something else. And I was like, not only will I will not sign this contract with this term. And they're like, okay, we'll take the term out. I was like, no, you have to agree to that term. But like, they were like, Moiz, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I forgot what X, Y, and Z was, frankly, because it was so many years ago. And I was like, I refuse to agree to doing X, Y, and Z. And in fact, you have to do it now if you want me to sign this contract. And they're like, how about we just take it out and we just move forward? I was like, no, this is a matter of principle. You guys are putting in onerous terms in contracts. You expect people not to read them. Sometimes I like to read contracts. I used to be a lawyer. I want to see what the fuck you guys are up to. You're writing a new contract here. Let's see what it takes. Let's take a look at it and see what it's about.
Flex the old muscle.
What? And then I was so upset. I was like, this is in you. I was like, you agree to it. And they're like, we can't agree to it. I was like, why can't you agree to it? You tried to get me to agree to it. I found it. You agree to it now. And they're like, no. And I was like, go fuck yourselves. And so we never got into neighborhood goods.
Damn.
That was the issue with them. So if you are getting into neighborhood goods, just send me the contract. I'll read it again for you. I'd love to take a look at it. Let's go.
Yeah. Or if anybody has it, send it to Moiz. We got to get that term.
I'll remember what that term was. Yeah. I got it a while ago.
That is way too funny.
Okay, let's move on. There were some fundraising things that I want to chat about really quickly. Tonal, Tonal?
Yes.
Do you know what those guys are?
Tonal is the mirror-like fitness platform.
Yeah, the one that had like LeBron James, like it being like, oh yeah, I use it. Yeah, he got LeBron
this is
James.
How I won.
Yes. If you get a Tonal, you will also be LeBron James.
Yeah. Imagine the commercial, like a skinny white guy goes in. You look like LeBron when you come out, big black dude.
There used to be an ad for like Blake Griffin and Kia, and I was like, Blake Griffin would have to sit in the back seat to drive this Kia. Like, he's so tall. There's not enough room over here. What a joke. Yeah. And like Tonal had LeBron James and like Serena Williams and stuff. Like, they had 8 like, top tier athletes. In September 2022, so less than a year ago, they raised $100 million at a $1.9 billion valuation. Now, in April 2023, they raised $130 million at a $445 million valuation. So like the Pelotons of the world, all like, these sort of fell off of a cliff. They're not doing well. Really makes me think about how important market timing is. Like, do you remember Mirror? Mirror was a crappier version of Tonal even. It was basically like, hey, we've created a large TV screen, and they sold it to Lululemon for like 600 some million. I don't remember what the price was, but it was a fortune. The CEO made a fortune, and it looks like I would imagine it's a terrible acquisition for Lululemon today.
Yeah, I've seen it. I see it now just in the Lulu stores. No one looks at it. No one touches it. It just exists.
Yeah, I thought it was literally a mirror. I didn't. I was like, why would I pay this much for this thing? And I was like, oh, it's one of those connected mirrors that's going to help me work out for 30 seconds before I stop using it.
Right. Before it just literally sits in the wall, out of the way, and never needs to be turned on.
Yeah, they paid $500 million for Mirror.
Wow.
And now, like, I just Googled it because I was trying to figure it out. And like, there's this article now. It says Lululemon's ill-timed Mirror acquisition is now almost worthless.
What happens to so the people that put in 100 million at 1.9, and then if they raise an additional 130 at 445, what happens to the people who put the first 100 in?
They get crammed down usually. Basically,
so 75% of the value. So their 100 million is now worth 25 pre-dilution. Roughly?
No, it's probably worth even less than that. Like, they probably told everyone you have to give up your stakes. Like, they'll have to get they'll have to say everyone's worth a lot less now because otherwise the business isn't going to work out. Like, we're going to go bankrupt, or you guys can agree to take 2%, like, 5% of the value of the business for that $100 million, like, 5% of the value of the business today at a $445 million valuation. Like,
Wow.
they'll get crammed down materially so that their investment barely exists anymore.
Why wouldn't they just try to, or maybe they did try, but like, shouldn't they just try to just get rid of the business, just sell it to somebody else who can recapitalize it and not have to, like, for example, if a Walmart bought this, although they don't have the best rap sheet, but like somebody like a Walmart can be like, yeah, I don't care. We'll just throw $1 billion at it and see what happens.
If they could get somebody like a Walmart to throw $1 billion at it, or anybody like that, they would take it in a heartbeat. They would,
or not buy it for $1 billion, but like, let's say they even bought it for 300 or 400.
Yeah.
But then they can get somebody to properly capitalize. Because I imagine their biggest constraint is like, okay, well, do we give up 99% of the business and capitalize the business, or do we kind of run it slowly and differently? And we can't really push, the capital in and build it.
Yeah, I can't speak for Tonal specifically because I don't know the details of this transaction, but generally, like, I would imagine that they have no opportunity to sell it for $250 million.
Wow.
Like, I think if they had that opportunity, they would have taken it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Did they have any numbers on revenue?
They didn't have any numbers, or at least not that I saw.
Yeah. Damn.
There was one more fundraising thing that I wanted to talk about, which was Razor, which is an aggregator. They raised $88 million at a $1.2 billion valuation. And they acquired another aggregator, actually, with the money. They're basically like, we're now acquiring.
They're not playing checkers.
Yeah, like, aggregators are now.
You guys are acquiring brands. We're going to acquire you.
That's right. So they said that they own 140 brands and generate $453 million in revenue per year, which I thought was really interesting. So on average, their brands are generating $3.2 million in revenue per year. That's what they're shooting. That's not what they're shooting for. That's just what they've got. This is what was really interesting. They said Razor's pitch from the start has been that its approach is very different from that of its peers and that it's built its own technology in-house. This is in contrast to a number of others who knit together third-party tools to manage and run these businesses, sometimes with their own tech and sometimes not. Initially, its aim was to, that is I don't know what technology they've got in-house that's better than...
Let me translate that.
Yeah.
They found a dev shop in India that can string together APIs, and that is their tech stack.
Yeah. I would be shocked. Like, the reality is these businesses are... When we were trying to fundraise, people would always be like, what is your moat? And I was like, look, the honest answer is in e-commerce, there's very few businesses have moats. Yeah, Apple does. And so does, Lululemon maybe, or like, I'm not even sure Lululemon does. Peloton does.
Right.
But everybody else is sort of brand once you get to a certain scale. And before that, operational excellence. Like, I'm going to operate this business better than other people because I'm going to work harder, make better decisions, try new things. I'm not afraid to fail. I'll test. That's what it is. And these guys saying, hey, we built our technology in-house and that's unique to us. I'd be shocked if Thrasio was like, you know what? We've been using Klaviyo, but I think we've decided to rebuild Klaviyo on our own,
right.
And that's better. And so is building Gorgeous and, sending text messages on our own stack and our own Shopify. Why should we use Shopify? We've got our own,
right.
That is really not anyone's forte in e-commerce. Technology is almost never a forte in e-commerce.
Right.
It's almost always operational excellence and branding.
100%. Yeah, I'm very curious, I'm more curious what they use this tech stack for. Like, I'm sure they have developed some sort of proprietary tech. Maybe, I would imagine it's a layer on top of the regular tech stack. So it's something that makes it easier maybe to upload emails into Klaviyo or mass send something. I have no idea, but I'd imagine it's a layer on top. Versus like, oh, we should rebuild Gorgeous because that $1 billion company doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I bet it's more like inventory forecasting and back office stuff.
Right,
too.
right.
Okay, there's one thing I wanted to chat about that you tweeted about, which was Glossier's new website on Shopify, which was a big deal. Like, that's a big brand to get. Usually brands that get to a certain scale actually go the other way and get off of Shopify. I felt like Ritual got off of Shopify, Away Travel got off of Shopify. Glossier, is now on Shopify. And so it's sort of like a reversal of what other brands have been doing. What do you think of that?
I think I think it's a great win for Shopify. I think
For sure.
there has been just a ton of change with Glossier in the last like probably 8 months from, I think they have a new CEO now.
Yeah.
They're in Sephora. I believe they might be on Amazon now as well. Um, there's just it's like, if you were to look at this again, kind of like Bonobos in 2017 versus today, they're two completely different businesses. They tried a bunch of stuff, like they did that Glossier Play, which was like, a different line extension that I think completely flopped as well. um I don't know. I mean, at the Shopify site, I think it's okay. I don't think it's fantastic, but I also know, having launched many Shopify sites and building some, that there's generally a reason that something made it all the way through to the live site. I do think, I could definitely critique the shit out of this site, but I'm sure there's some reason why, the alphabet is spelled out in the footer with, every possible product listed, and why the buttons just disappear when you hover over them.
You,
Um,
so I'll give you I moved a site for we native moved to Shopify, and look, honestly, it's a little bit of a work in progress. This isn't like
right.
rebuilding your tech stack from the ground up, or especially in e-commerce, is not like something that's super easy. And I remember when we launched the site, actually the moment we were supposed to launch, the site went down for like the first hour. And I was, that kind of stuff happens. And, I don't expect the site to be perfect. I think that makes a lot of sense here, because this is a work in progress and takes time. That said, this is an e-commerce brand that's, in many ways like defined e-commerce and was $1 billion brand. And I'm surprised at the lack of like development that they have on a site like this. And I think this is contrary to your take is like, look, they're starting at like, I read your Twitter post about this, and I think you're right. They're starting. So there should be a lot of things that are in flux and not perfect. And they're going to, in the next 2 months, all these bugs will get fixed. And that's fair and true. But I think there are certain things that I'm shocked that they launched with. Like they've got 0 reviews everywhere, and they're like total reviews 0, average rating blank. There are no reviews on this product yet often. If you add something to the cart, and I put a link to this I put a link to this image in our agenda for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It says the sales tax amount shown in checkout is a best estimate and may differ from actual amount charged and shown on order confirmation email. Like basically, even the sales tax that they tell you they're going to charge you is going to be maybe incorrect. So they're like, your total is going to be $38. Oh, it's going to be $38.60. We've decided, like, and that after you've placed the order. And that was I was like, wow, I'm really surprised that you guys launched with this. I thought like it was a little bit less developed than I would have been comfortable with launching a site. I'm not saying anything should be perfect. The alphabet isn't even that big of a deal to me. It is kind of funny. But like, they're going to fix that. They're going to fix the hover over buttons. They're going to fix the reviews when they get those imported. This sales tax thing, I was like, wow, that is a big thing. Like, to say I'm going to charge you this price and then I have to adjust it a little bit as a result of sales tax. I get it. You're not doing it maliciously. I'm just surprised that you do something like that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think it is definitely a work in progress. I would say, as somebody who spends a lot of time building e-commerce sites, going through e-commerce sites, auditing them, updating them, I do think they missed a lot of things. Like I would never launch a site with 0 reviews across the board at of this caliber. I would never, even the color swatches are a bit different. I really, really but I really did love the previous site that I think was built on Contentful, and it was customly built by Henry and Brian. But one thing I do like that I think is a good actually takeaway for a lot of brands in skincare, beauty, and personal care, in the cart, they do this like free sample. You can add a free sample. And another company that does this really well is Skin, which is Kim Kardashian's skincare brand, SKKN. This is also built on Shopify. And as soon as you add something to the cart, it gives you the opportunity to add samples, which I think, as a brand, like you want to push as many samples as possible. Anything that's a consumable, you kind of want to go with the beverage saying of cans and hands. In this case, it's like more samples, the better.
Yeah, I love that. And like, you know what? First, the samples are going to cost you 40 cents to ship out, 40 cents entirely, because
Right.
it's a tiny sachet of a product and then a pick and pack charge. It doesn't add anything to the weight, doesn't add anything to the box. And if you love the skin night oil sample that you purchase, that you get with your order of an exfoliator, guess what you're going to do is you're going to buy the full thing, and now there's a lot more money in hand for you. So I completely agree with you. I love that sample stuff. That is a great idea. And yeah, the Glossier site I loved before, and look, I admire the brand a ton.
Same.
The people who built this have done an amazing job. Like I went to the store in West Hollywood the other day, and it's like, it's such a fun experience to go in.
It is,
like,
yeah.
It's so beautiful and so friendly. Like I love everything about it. This is a little less baked than I would have been comfortable with, but I'm sure they're going to fix it in the next couple months.
Yeah, I think the person who uploaded the site was probably baked. All right.
Okay, I want to talk about two other things. Was there anything else on your agenda, though? Let's go.
No, mine was covered. Retail,
okay.
Facebook.
Okay. The two things I want to talk about. One, I saw this TikTok of Bill Ackman, who runs this hedge fund in New York. And he said the richest people in the world are retailers.
I saw this.
You saw that TikTok?
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it. And he's like, look, retail is not easy to get right. It's a lot of work, and it's a lifetime of building that. But like Walmart, LVMH, Amazon, like all of those guys are retailers, and that's how they've made massive businesses. And the Waltons were the richest people in the world. Jeff Bezos was the richest person in the world. Now it's the guy who runs LVMH, or the owner, Bernard Assault, or I don't really know how to pronounce his last name. I thought that was really interesting and incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I always have this. I always have this concept of you to win, you have to have the McDonald's audience or the Drake audience. You have to be so wide and be able to service so many in a way that still doesn't feel like you've lost quality or lost taste or lost culture. And it's like trying to balance a pencil on a table. It's nearly impossible, but the second you do it, it's magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to end with this this personal story I've got. I thought about it over the weekend because I was on this board call, and this guy was getting screwed, and I was like, a lot of times what happens is, this guy was like, look, my contract manufacturer, this is a beauty business that I'm an advisor in, and he's like, my contract manufacturer said that they made X number of goods, and they shipped them over to the 3PL, and the 3PL says they got X minus 5%, and then you're like, what the fuck? I don't see these goods. There was this company, this is the second time I'm referencing gas stations. When my family owned gas stations, we used to get the gas from this company called Edison Oil Company. Mm-hmm. And, what you do, gas is delivered in these massive trucks, as you can imagine, like a semi truck. And generally a semi truck holds about 8,000 gallons. And you can compartmentalize that 8,000 gallons, and you can say, I want 5,000 gallons of regular gasoline, 2,000 gallons of premium gasoline, and 1,000 gallons of diesel. And mm-hmm. So then, if they bring over 8,000 gallons and drop them in your tanks, and then you sell them to consumers. And so my father was let me tell you, the guy who runs Edison Oil, his name's Gene. I don't remember his last name. He has committed fraud and tax fraud for years and should be in jail. But what would happen is he would say, okay, my father would be like, I want to order 8,000 gallons of gasoline, and he'd get a bill for 8,000 gallons and pay it. And one time, the guy who dropped the gasoline into the tanks gave us a sheet of paper that he wasn't supposed to give us called the bill of lading. And it said, you ordered 8,000 gallons. We're delivering 7,800 because we couldn't fit the other 200. There was a 200 variance when we were filling it into the truck. And so mm-hmm. you only got 7,800 gallons. And my father was like, fuck, I've been overpaying for 200 gallons of gasoline for 7 years.
Yeah.
And not only am I overpaying for the gasoline, I'm paying for the taxes on that gasoline that was never delivered. The federal tax, the state tax, the local tax of gasoline. And so, we were being overcharged, tens of thousands of dollars a month for several years by this guy who runs Edison Oil Company. And so if you want to like talk shit about him, let me be the first to talk shit about him. And if you're a member of the Florida state government, please arrest this guy. I will testify at the trial. But anyway, that's what was happening to this beauty guy. I was like, this is still happening in my life. This happened to my father 20 years ago. This is happening to a business that I'm advising today. They ordered 10,000 units of something. They got an invoice for 10,000 units of something. When it got delivered, they had 9,800, and they're like, what should we do? And that, then they're like, hey, fucker, we only got 9,800 here. And the guy was like, oh yeah, we only sent 9,800. That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people like, I haven't run anyone else's business, but at Native, I'd be pretty cognizant of what we should be getting to make sure that what was shipped was received by the other party, like the number of boxes. And I'd encourage everyone else to do that because there will be discrepancies, and those discrepancies it's easy for those discrepancies to be thousands of dollars in a way.
Especially when the units go up, if you have 10,000 units, 20,000 units, and 200 are missing, it's very easy to just not see it because it's so minuscule compared to the multiple pallets coming in.
Yeah, that's right. It's so easy to miss that kind of stuff. I don't know a good way to do this, to manage this kind of stuff. It's super manual, and even then you're guessing at it because like the guy says I shipped 10,000. The guy who's receiving it doesn't count each unit individually. He counts boxes. He's like, okay, you told me each box contains 50 units. Are there 20 boxes here, 200 boxes here? And so he's like, in this instance, in this example, there were missing boxes. But even then, you could just put 40 in every box instead of 50, and you could get fucked. And so
you'd never know.
You got to audit those things. I'd recommend you spot check those things like once every 6 months. Go out to the 3PL, have someone go out to 3PL, pay the 3PL, go out and audit those things, and make sure that you're not getting screwed in that way.
There's I don't know about any company that exists that does this. I do know there's a company called, I think it's Factored Quality. They do this for factories. So like very similar to what you're saying, kind of like auditing, going in and making sure that you're not getting fucked over. They do this for the factory all the way up until, actually they do this for 3PLs. Send inspectors to your warehouse, 3PL, DC, or fulfillment center to do a final count of your total goods down to a SKU or lot level.
Factored Quality? What? How have I never heard of this business before?
It's there's an Indian guy who runs it. I should connect you.
Yeah, I'd love that. You know him?
I do. Forget his name. Wow, it starts with an A.
They're running like good, there's certainly a lot of brands on here I recognize. Supply, Adams, Resident, Meissen, Dr. Squatch. That's interesting. I guess okay, so other people have had this problem and found a solution to it. I've been doing it fucking manually forever. I love talking. I love. I
spend my Sundays just counting.
I love this podcast because literally I'm just like, hey, here's problems that other people are having, and you're like, have you heard of these 15 companies? I'm like, who's heard of this business? Honestly, who's heard of Factored Quality? How have you heard of it?
I know people. I got a guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fantastic.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, you're my guy. Yeah, I'm going to start telling you about all of my problems I've got now. Like, you solve these. Is there a company that goes out and solves these problems? Because I don't know about it, and you do.
Amazing.
Awesome.
All right, I feel like that was a good episode.
Yeah,
we'll be back next week. And join our Slack group. We have over 2,000 people in there now. It's crazy. It is popping off. 2,000 people. It's at limitedsupplypod.com. You can join it there. If it doesn't work, it's probably going to work, 20 minutes later. Slack has an issue actually. So you can set a link to not expire, but every 400 people that use that link, it drops. So basically every time it increases by 400 people, I have to go reset the link and change the URL.
What's been happening.
Yeah. So I have it to not deactivate, but you can't get around it. I've tried everything. I've even hit up Slack, no response, but yeah, come join the Slack group. We have tons of channels. It is probably the only free Slack group in this world, in this community that delivers, that has high quality people. Like, I don't know if you've seen some people in here are running like $50 million businesses, $100 million businesses. And it doesn't cost anything. We're not going to charge you. There's nobody shilling. There's nobody selling. So yeah, limitedsupplypod.com.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on.